Welcome back to Awakening to Your Story's Weekly Love. I'm heart expert and the author of the book Awakening to Your Story, Alicia Hartzell. Thank you so much for being back here again with us this week. I'm so happy to be in your inbox. This week, we're going to talk about a topic, shoulding. That's right, shoulding on yourself. It's one of those treacherous places in your mind where you think you should be something more than you are, be somewhere else. You should. Let me tell you, I'm here to say, you need not should on yourself. This topic starts with a conversation that I had with someone in an email, and the email dialogue started like this. I did everything I was supposed to do. I went to college, I got married, I got my master's degree, I found a great job. We have a nice house now, and we're thinking about having kids. The problem is, I feel empty and unhappy. I don't want to bring kids into that. I thought I wanted all this, but now I'm not sure what to think. I'm not sure how to figure out this one. Is there any way that you can help me find a place to start? Yeah, you're not alone. Shoulding on yourself and this feeling of emptiness and unhappiness is an epidemic in our society. It really is. There are so many people who have that pattern of thinking that they should, and they end up creating this chasm between themselves and their happiness, right? It's a place where you believe that you are supposed to be somewhere outside of where you are. It's not about dreaming and creating movement towards those dreams. It's about being stuck somewhere and being unhappy and being separated from all the things that we want, right? Do you feel a difference? Now, I want you to know that the feeling of unhappiness and emptiness is actually a really good indicator. That's right. Those feelings that you're having, they're there to help you, not to hurt you. They're there to show you where to do the work. The good news is that if you're there and you're having them, happiness is a way of life. Unhappiness is not. Your unhappiness and your emptiness does not have to be your way of life. If you show up and you do the work, you can bridge the gap to that chasm, right? This belief that we should be other places, right? The unhappiness of that. Unhappiness in that way is created by separation from your essential truth. So what I'm going to do today is give you some heart actionables that are going to help you bridge that gap, right? To create closure in that separation. Because you are more valuable than you know, and your heart and your expression of love and truth, they're there to bring light to the table of humanity, to breathe joy into your own story, right? We're going to start with the first heart actionable. Stop shoulding and start I amming, right? This is the first place where you can make those baby steps. The moment we start to change our language is the moment we start to change our consciousness. And as our consciousness starts to change, what manifests in front of us starts to change, right? So we're going to baby step our way into bridging that gap, of that separation of you and your essential truth, right? So I want you to go back to the stream kayak principle because it's always a great place to be. If you are shoulding, you have your paddles in the water and you are paddling upstream. You're not in flow. You're not in sync. Your boat isn't facing downriver. You have your boat turned in the opposite direction, believing that you're supposed to be somewhere that you're not. Where you are is exactly where you're meant to be. And I want you to also understand that if you are reacting to the indicator of unhappiness, it's time to step back into that boat and interact with it, right? To utilize it. The idea that you are unhappy, that's a beautiful thing. It's a very authentic thing. It means that you want happiness. It means that you want joy. Utilize the indicator. Don't do anything too extreme, right? Don't make big changes in your life so that you can feel happy, right? The minute you start to say, this new house needs to make me happy. You're pulling that house into your boat, saying, house, make me happy so that I feel happy. When you put that on your spouse, that's not your spouse's job to make you feel happy. You're pulling them into your boat, or you're abandoning your boat and jumping into theirs. Your job is to show up for the indicator, right? The unhappiness that you're feeling. Okay, I'm here. I'm feeling a little empty and I'm feeling unhappy. And I've tried to fill that void with a ton of stuff and it's not working. And that's okay. It was never designed to work that way. So your job is to start changing your language. Stop shoulding and start I aming. Mantras are a beautiful way of creating ownership, right? So rather than say, I should be happy, turn it into I want to be happy. And then go 12 inches deeper, right? The should in the head to the I want in the voice, and then to the I am in the heart. I'm happy. I am happy. Boil it down as far as you can. I am happy. Now, even if this feels like a big fat lie because you really authentically are not happy yet, understand that you're rehearsing, that you're building a pathway in your mind and in your belief system that is opening the door to allow that happiness to come in, right? Show up and do the work. Yes, there will be lots of other places to create change and to go back and dig in and figure out where the unhappiness started. But you don't have to do that right now. All you have to do is create connection to the language. I am. I am what? I am happy. I am full. You start doing that and things are going to start to unfold because the belief is there. The ownership is starting to be built, right? Okay, so our next heart actionable is come down 12 inches, right? That heart space right there, and own your gratitude, right? Gratitude has the ability to take negativity down to its knees. If you can create ownership for your gratitude in those moments, you're going to be golden, right? Now, what I mean by that is I want you to create some cellular memories that say, I am grateful for my happiness, right? If we're using happiness as the goal indicator here, I want you to figure out a moment. Take the time to come down that 12 inches to the heart, out of the mind and into the heart, and remember a time when you were happy, right? I know they're in there. Even if it's been a while and you have to kind of go back in time, find a place where you were happy, right? The example that I worked with, the person who sent in this question, was, she was able to find in her mind a statement that said, I am grateful for the day my husband and I rode our bikes through town and we went and shopped and had coffee, right? I'm grateful for that. Awesome. Okay. So that's in the head. There's a memory. You're grateful for the happiness in that memory. Now I want you to come down 12 inches. And it was a little hard. It was like, okay, what does that mean? What does it feel like, right? How did that feel to be happy? What were some of the tangible expressions in that moment? And this is what she came up with, which is amazing. I am grateful for the day of freedom. From when my husband and I went on our bike adventure. I can still feel the wind in my hair and the feeling of being separate but together. I am grateful for all those moments, and to be honest, my heart felt really full. Amazing, right? You can build that cellular memory bank so that when you're in those moments where you don't believe, where you're feeling unhappy, you can pull on it like a ripcord. Open up the gates from the unhappiness and jump right into that space of happiness. It goes down to every cell of who you are. Take the time to actually write them down, right? To show up, to be connected within that space within yourself. Create a bank of them, right? Happiness here, happiness there. I'm grateful for the time and it felt this way, right? Build up that bank. So the next heart actionable that we have is build your happiness scale. Right? This is amazing. I actually did this with a client of mine, and it was phenomenal. And I'm going to have to revert to some notes on the story, even though I might be able to tell it because it was that spectacular. But we worked on creating a happiness scale. And anytime that you can write, like pen to paper, write out what it is you're feeling, or how to bring more consciousness to the happiness side. We spend so much time wrought in the separation. It's time to build up the side of the connection and the happiness and the joy. And sometimes the best way to do that is to write about it, or craft about it, or paint a picture about it, or sing about it, or make poetry about it. That fire of creativity, when you let it burn on the embers of your happiness, it's magic, right? It creates power within yourself and ownership for that happiness. So when we were looking at her happiness scale, this client of mine, we started slowly, right? We started at the bottom, and it was, I am content, right? She was like, okay, so content. That is one of my main feelings that I can feel. Then I was like, okay, so what's next? She's like, satisfied, right? So I'm content, and then I'm satisfied. And then her next thought was amused, and her next thought was happy. And we were trying to get her to happy. At the beginning of the conversation, she couldn't even get into the happiness factor. But we had to start slow and build our way up, and what happened was amazing. So as she started thinking about content, she came upon that one pretty easily. Her cellular memory of being content was being in her fluffy bed with her dogs, right? I can feel that breath of contentness when I wake up in the morning and I'm in my fluffy down bed with my puppies around me. And you could see it in her, like her face structure, and her shoulders kind of went down a little bit. And let me tell you, I have been in this person's house and I've seen her bed. It is like a giant marshmallow meringue pie. And I could see how she would feel very content in there with the two little loves of her life, her dogs. So she created a cellular memory of what it felt like to be content. And then we went up on the scale, right, to amused. And it was like, or sorry, not amused, satisfied. I was like, okay, so what does it feel like to be satisfied? And she thought about it for a minute, and she's like, when I'm laying on the floor and I've got my records playing and I feel really happy and I'm thinking about life, I guess she didn't say really happy. Like I'm content. Like I'm content, and I'm a little bit more than content. I'm satisfied. Like I have enough room in my consciousness to think about life, and I can enjoy the music, and I'm there. And I could see how she was getting into it. She loves her records, and she felt like she could create ownership for that space, right? So she had content, and then she had satisfied, and then it was amused. And she had a little bit of a hard time coming up with this one. She's like, okay, amused. Like, when am I amused with my life? She's like, I don't know. She's like, I really enjoy fireflies. And so I'm amused when I can sit out on the patio with my dogs and watch the fireflies light up. It's like a couple times a year, and I feel amused. Like I feel a little tickled. And I like that. And I'm like, okay, so put yourself there. And she's like, yeah. And you could see the corners of her mouth start to turn up. And she's like, yeah. And at the beginning of this conversation, she was having a hard time. And I was reminding her, ask for your miracles. Show up and ask. Like, she's like, how do I know that I should even keep bothering to do this work? It's so hard sometimes. And I need to know that I can keep showing up and do the work. And I'm like, well, ask for some miracles. Show up and ask. So as we're going through this scale, I can tell she's hanging in there with me, and she's showing up to do the work, but she's still a little bit like, is this really going to help? And then all of a sudden, fireflies started going off because we were sitting outside during the session, and literally the sky and the grass outside of where we were sitting started lighting up with fireflies. I'm not kidding. So we're building her happiness scale, and she immediately has an instantaneous manifestation of what her cellular memory was from feeling amused. And I kind of nudged her and I was like, you do see that, right? Like, you see that those fireflies are there as you're talking about them. And she's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay, like, don't forget, like, when you show up, the universe shows up to support you completely. Completely. It's there designed to help usher you towards your higher good. And she's like, okay. So I gave her the energy that she needed, that little boost to get to that next place, right? That next cellular memory of happiness. And she's like, happiness, it's a hard one for me. I don't feel it often. I'm kind of in the drudgery. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Close your eyes. Remember, you're tickled inside by the universe supporting you completely. Ask for your cellular memory of happiness. You asked for a sign. You asked for your miracle, and the firefly showed up. Ask and see what shows up. She closed her eyes for a minute, and all of a sudden, she came up with this great memory. She's like, happiness to me is when my grandmother told me that her favorite memory was her and I sitting out on her porch, watching a storm roll in, talking about life. She's like, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. She's like, my grandmother chose me as her favorite memory. She chose me, which is something that this client works a lot on, is feeling worthy and feeling good about herself, right? And to have this cellular memory that embodies happiness, because her grandmother chose her, right? They were sitting out on a patio watching the storm roll in, the lightning and the thunder and the rain coming through. And they were talking about life, and it was her grandmother's favorite memory. And this made her happy. And so I was like, done, score. You have your scale, right? You have cellular memories that mark each place on that scale. And as we're talking and kind of digging in deeper, and I'm giving her the assignment of going back and filling in that scale more over the next couple weeks, she physically had a different demeanor about her. And then all of a sudden, I kid you not, the lightning started going off. Lightning and thunder, and the sky started to flicker. And I was like, seriously? She got so tickled. You could feel the joy and happiness in her. She's like, I can't even believe that this is really happening. I'm like, your story is valuable, and the universe is going to conspire in your favor, and you're showing up to do the work even when it's hard, right? You're putting yourself back in your boat, and you're doing what it takes to stay there. And the universe wants you to know, right? These miracles that are around you are there to show you that you're headed in the right direction. So what I want you to do is I want you to go through those 3 steps, right? I want you to stop shoulding on yourself. You should feel this way. You should stop shoulding. I am happy. Start building ownership for that. I am, right? Then I want you to come down 12 inches and create ownership for your gratitude, right? I am grateful for. Build that bank. I am grateful for the happiness that I felt when. How did it feel? Like, take it down 12 inches, right? And then I want you to build your happiness scale. Figure out which words fit for you. It might not be content, satisfied, amused, and happy. It might be something completely different. But start building it out and then start filling it in. It takes time, but it's worth the investment of time to show up for your happiness equally, or if not more, than you're showing up for those shoulding things in your head, right? Take the time to do the work to get back in your boat, and then just do what it takes to stay there, right? And then in addition to that, as a bonus Heart Actionable, ask for your miracles, because they are there waiting for you. The divine, or however you want to put it, the universe, the Holy Spirit, however you want to put it, however you want to look at it, everything in the world is conspiring in your favor to help you move forward. So ask for your miracles and then wait and watch them show up, right? I hope this helps put a stop to shoulding and a start to I aming. I want you to know that I am completely grateful for all that you bring to the table of humanity, and for your bravery to show up and be honest and vulnerable within your story. And until next week, remember, you are miraculous. For more support, information, and inspiration, join me at awakeningtoyourstory.com.